Have you ever wondered how children first start to notice differences? Maybe it's at the park, when they see another child using a wheelchair, or in school, when a classmate takes longer to read or needs special help from a teacher. Kids are naturally curious, and curiosity is beautiful. But if we don't guide them, that curiosity can easily turn into misunderstanding or even exclusion. Before we dive into this topic, I want to ask you something important. If you value content that helps you raise kind, confident, and empathetic children, make sure to subscribe to this channel. That way, you'll never miss the tools and stories that can transform the way you connect with your kids. Explaining physical or mental disabilities to children might feel intimidating. Parents often worry. What if I say the wrong thing? What if my child asks a question I can't answer? But the truth is, the way you approach these conversations matters more than having all the perfect words. Kids don't need polished speeches. They need honesty, kindness, and a safe space to ask questions. Think about it this way. If your child sees someone moving differently, speaking differently, or behaving in ways they don't understand, silence can send the wrong message. It can make disability feel like something shameful, a topic to be ignored. But when you open a conversation, even if it feels a little messy, you teach your child that differences are not scary. They're simply part of the human story. In this video, we'll walk together through gentle, clear ways to explain both physical and mental disabilities to children. We'll talk about the words you can use, the examples that make sense at different ages, and how to nurture respect without making disability feel like a heavy or sad subject. Because at its heart, this is not a conversation about limitations. It's a conversation about humanity, diversity, and the many ways people shine. Imagine your child meeting someone with Down syndrome at school or a cousin who has autism. Will they know how to react? Will they feel fear, confusion, or compassion? The answer depends largely on what you share at home. That's why starting early matters. The earlier kids understand that disabilities are just one of many ways people are unique, the less room there is for stigma to grow. By the end of this journey, you'll feel confident, not just in answering your child's questions, but in shaping a perspective that will stay with them for life. Empathy isn't taught in one big lecture. It's planted in small, everyday conversations. And today, you'll learn how to make those conversations natural, meaningful, and empowering for both you and your child. The best way to start is to keep it simple. Children don't need complicated medical terms or long explanations. What they need are words that match their level of understanding, wrapped in honesty and kindness. For very young children, you can say something like, "Some people's bodies or brains work differently." That doesn't make them less important. It just means they might do things in a different way. This sentence is short but powerful. It doesn't label people as broken or incomplete. It presents disability as a natural variation of life, just like hair color or height. Think about how kids already notice differences. One child might run faster than another. One might draw better or remember stories more easily. Disabilities are another form of difference. Sometimes more visible, sometimes invisible, but always part of being human. By framing it this way, you give children a foundation that's free from fear or pity. It's also helpful to use real-life examples. If your child has a classmate in a wheelchair, you could say, "See how your friend uses wheels instead of legs to move around? That's just their way of getting from place to place. Just like we put shoes on to walk, they use a chair with wheels. It's different, but it works." The same goes for mental or developmental disabilities. If your child notices that someone learns at a different pace, you might explain, "Some people's brains learn slowly or they need more help." But that doesn't mean they aren't smart or kind. It just means they take a different path. Another important part of these early conversations is tone. Children mirror your feelings. If you sound nervous or uncomfortable, they may pick up on that. But if you speak with calmness, warmth, and matter-of-fact clarity, your child will understand that this is not a scary subject. And don't worry if your child asks blunt or awkward questions. Kids are not being rude when they ask, "Why can't she walk?" Or, "Why does he talk funny?" They're just trying to understand. Instead of shushing them, gently guide the question. You might say, "That's a good question. Her legs don't work the same way ours do. So she uses wheels." but she likes games and stories just like you. Notice how that answer validates the curiosity, gives a clear explanation, and reminds the child of common ground. It's not about focusing on what someone can't do, but about showing that their humanity is bigger than their differences. Another powerful tool is books and stories. Children's books that feature characters with disabilities can normalize the idea early on. When kids see heroes and friends in stories who have wheelchairs, hearing aids, or autism, they understand that disabilities are not something rare or strange. They're simply part of life. And finally, model behavior. If you show kindness, patience, and respect when interacting with people who have disabilities, your child will absorb that lesson faster than any explanation. Kids learn more from what you do than what you say. If they see you greet someone warmly, ask if they need help respectfully, or simply treat them as you would anyone else, they'll carry that behavior forward. By laying this foundation of simplicity, honesty, and empathy, you open the door for deeper conversations as your child grows older. Because as kids mature, their questions will become more complex. And when that happens, you'll be ready to guide them. As children grow older, their curiosity sharpens. They start to notice not just differences in people's abilities, but also how society treats those differences. This is when the questions become deeper and sometimes harder to answer. Your child might ask, why does that boy need someone to help him all the time? Why can't she ever play tag with us? Will he get better one day? These are important moments. They show that your child is not just observing, but also trying to make sense of fairness, permanence, and identity. One of the best approaches here is honesty combined with reassurance. You can explain, some disabilities don't go away. They're part of who a person is, just like your freckles or your favorite color. But that doesn't mean their life is less valuable. It just means they live it differently. This helps your child separate different from less. It prevents pity from creeping in and instead builds respect. You may also face the tricky question, why them and not me? This is a very human question, the search for fairness. Children often struggle with the idea that life can be unequal. The best response is gentle truth. Everyone's body and mind are different. We don't always know why things happen, but we know that everyone deserves kindness, love, and respect. This shifts the focus from why to how we treat people, which is something your child can actually control. Another step at this stage is teaching about invisible disabilities. Kids may easily understand a wheelchair, but they might struggle with conditions like autism, ADHD, or anxiety. You could explain, sometimes a disability is not something you can see. It's in how a brain works, or how someone feels inside. That person may need extra time, or they might get tired quickly, or they might act differently. Even if we can't see it, it's still real. This explanation helps children expand their understanding beyond what their eyes can perceive. And then there's the matter of fairness at school or play. Your child may notice accommodations, like extra time on tests or special teachers. They may say, that's not fair. This is a teaching moment. You can explain, fair doesn't always mean the same. It means giving each person what they need to do their best. Some people need glasses to see, right? That's fair. Some kids need more time or special tools to learn. That's fair too. Stories and examples can make this idea stick. Ask your child, if you broke your leg, would it be fair to make you run the same race as everyone else? They'll usually answer no. Then you can add, that's why fairness means giving people what helps them, not treating everyone exactly the same. At this stage, it's also important to introduce empathy. Encourage your child to imagine life through another person's eyes. How would you feel if you wanted to play but couldn't run? What would you want friends to say if you needed extra help? Children are naturally empathetic once they're guided to imagine themselves in someone else's place. Lastly, don't be afraid to admit what you don't know. If your child asks about a condition you're not familiar with, it's okay to say, I don't know, but we can learn together. This teaches humility, curiosity, and the value of seeking knowledge instead of making assumptions. By addressing these harder questions with honesty, examples, and empathy, you prepare your child not only to understand disabilities, but also to stand up against exclusion and stereotypes. Up until now, You've helped your child understand what disabilities are and answer their questions with honesty and empathy. But knowledge alone is not enough. The real challenge is teaching your child how to act in ways that show respect and inclusion in daily life. Children learn from what they see. If they watch you treat a person with a disability as equal, not with pity or avoidance, they'll mirror that. If they see you using respectful language, they'll do the same. Modeling is your strongest tool. You can start small. When you're at the playground and see a child in a wheelchair, you might casually greet the parent or smile at the child. That simple act shows your child that disability does not mean stay away. Later, you can explain, some kids need wheelchairs, but they can still enjoy playing and having fun like everyone else. It's also crucial to teach that inclusion is more than kindness. It's fairness and friendship. Encourage your child to include others in games or group activities. If they say, "But he can't play tag," you might suggest, maybe you can all play a game where running isn't needed, like building with blocks or drawing together. This shifts their thinking from exclusion to adaptation. Children should also learn about boundaries and respect. Sometimes their curiosity makes them ask questions that might sound rude, like, "What happened to you?" Teach them to first ask permission or to approach with sensitivity. It's okay to be curious, but always think if your question could make someone uncomfortable. A good way is to be friendly first. If they want to share, they will. Language matters deeply. Words like weird, slow, or crazy can wound, even if your child doesn't mean harm. Explain clearly. Some words can hurt people. Let's choose words that show kindness. Replace negatives with positives. Instead of "he can't run fast," encourage your child to notice strengths. "He's really good at drawing." This shift helps children see people as whole individuals, not defined by a limitation. You can also nurture a sense of advocacy. If your child sees someone being teased for a disability, empower them to act. You can role play at home. What would you say if someone made fun of a classmate who stutters? Guide them to simple but powerful responses like, "That's not nice," or "He's my friend, stop." These small acts of courage build a foundation for standing against prejudice in real life. Books, movies, and stories are excellent tools too. Choose stories where characters with disabilities are heroes or central figures, not side characters. This helps your child expand their vision of what's possible. After the story, talk about it. What did you like about that character? What do you think was hard for them? How do their friends help? Finally, remind your child that disability is only one part of a person's identity. Just like they have hobbies, favorite colors, and dreams, so does someone with a disability. Teaching your child to look beyond the wheelchair, hearing aid, or diagnosis helps build genuine friendships. And as always, keep communication open. Tell your child, if you're ever unsure how to act, it's okay to ask me. We can figure out together. By guiding your child to respect, include, and defend others, you're not only teaching about disabilities, you're raising a compassionate, socially responsible human being. Conversations about physical or mental disabilities are not one-time talks. They are journeys, spread across the many stages of your child's growth and understanding. By now, you've seen how each layer builds on the last. From simple explanations to honest answers, to modeling respectful actions, to encouraging inclusion and advocacy. At the heart of it all is one core message. Differences do not lessen a person's worth. Every human being deserves respect, dignity, and belonging. This is the truth your child must carry forward, not just into childhood friendships, but into their future as adults, classmates, co-workers, and community members. So let's make this practical. Here's a roadmap you can use as a parent, step by step. Start simple. For toddlers or young kids, use everyday examples they can see and understand. Some people use glasses. Some people use wheelchairs. Everyone has different tools to help them. Normalize differences. Present disabilities as just one aspect of who a person is. Yes, she needs help walking, but she also loves drawing and laughing just like you. Answer honestly. Don't overcomplicate, but don't shy away either. If your child asks, "Will you ever be able to walk?" it's okay to say, "No, but he can still do many other amazing things." Honesty builds trust. Introduce empathy. Guide your child to imagine what life is like for others. Ask, how would you feel if you wanted to join but couldn't? This helps them connect emotionally. Talk about fairness. Teach that fair doesn't mean equal. It means giving everyone what they need to succeed. This is a powerful lesson that goes far beyond disability. Teach respectful language. Encourage your child to use words that uplift, not diminish. Model this in your own speech. Children copy what they hear. Promote inclusion. Encourage your child to invite classmates or neighbors with disabilities into games and activities. If necessary, help brainstorm ways to adapt play so everyone can participate. Prepare for prejudice. Sadly, your child may witness teasing or exclusion. Give them simple, clear responses. That's not fair, or he's my friend. This equips them to stand against bullying. Celebrate strengths. Remind your child that people with disabilities have talents, dreams, and personalities just like everyone else. Teach them to look beyond limitations. Keep the dialogue open. Disabilities are complex. Your child's questions will evolve. Let them know they can always come to you, and that learning together is part of the process. Alongside these steps, remember that your actions speak louder than words. If your child sees you making eye contact, greeting, and treating people with disabilities as equals, they will absorb that behavior naturally. Your respect becomes their template. And don't underestimate the power of stories. Share books, movies, and real-life examples where individuals with disabilities are strong, creative, and inspiring. Let your child see them not as exceptions, but as proof that human strength takes many forms. It's also worth remembering that this conversation isn't just about people out there. It might one day be about someone close, a classmate, a cousin, or even your own family. By planting seeds of empathy now, you're preparing your child to handle those situations with love, patience, and confidence. In the end, these talks are not just about disabilities. They're about humanity. They're about teaching your child to value every person, regardless of how they move, think, or communicate. They're about building a world where kindness is instinctive, where differences are respected, and where no child grows up thinking they're less than. So, the next time your child asks about someone in a wheelchair or wonders why a classmate needs extra help, don't shy away. Take a breath, get down on their level, and turn it into a chance to shape the kind of person they're becoming. Because every one of these conversations plants a seed of empathy, fairness, and compassion. And those seeds, nurtured over time, grow into something far greater. A generation that sees differences not as barriers, but as part of the beautiful variety of human life. That's the gift you can give your child. And it's a gift that will ripple far beyond your family, touching everyone they meet.